This is the Ecwid Ecommerce Show with your host, Jesse Ness, along with Richard O'Tay.
Hey, Richie, back again. Exciting new topic today.
I've been wanting to get in on this conversation for a while, and I think we found a great guest to come on the show for this.
Yeah, for sure. So we've mentioned influencer marketing quite a few times, but I don't think we've ever really given people the steps on how to do it. So today's your day. If you're listening in, looking for some influencer marketing, let's bring in our guest, Taylor Lagace. How you doing, Taylor?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you guys having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining the show. Let's start off with giving our guests a little bit of your background.
Yeah, of course. Entire background has been in the influencer marketing space going all the way back to college about 10 years ago now. First touch point with influencer marketing. I played football at UCLA. That's kind of an overstatement. They gave me a jersey there. One of my teammates was P. Diddy's son. For those of you guys who know P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, whatever you guys want to call him. His son was on my team as well. We quickly knew we weren't going to go to the NFL. So we went down a different path. We started an events company, and basically every dollar of revenue was just generated off of him posting on his social platforms. Everything. That just triggered me down a path where my interest was sparked. There's something here through influencers and through influencer marketing to really take companies to the next level. From there, went to an NFL marketing agency out of college doing, marketing on behalf of guys like Aaron Rodgers, Clay Matthews, think State Farm commercials. After that, went to the digital marketing side to a growth agency called Common Thread Collective, where built out their influence department and did paid media, Facebook ads specifically, and then launched 3 years ago, Kynship, where my previous company, Common Thread Collective, actually seed funded us. But yeah, that's the background and origin stories of Kynship there in my experience.
Yeah, that's great. So you have to see the full range from more the agency side, the digital marketing side, big clients, little clients, and then sounds like you left on good terms with your previous company since they funded the startup. So it's always good to leave on good terms.
They're awesome. Great partners of ours.
So now what does Kynship specialize in? So it's influencer marketing. Maybe give us what do you guys do best?
Yeah, I can hear it in your voice too. Influencer marketing is a space where people are just so uncertain, really. Well, what do you guys do? Because there's so many people saying to do this, to do that. So many people preaching on the hilltops that honestly can be very misguiding, misleading, and just quite confusing. It's this black box that people don't really know what to do with. So we specifically do a process that's called influencer seeding. It's a process that counteracts the pay-for-post model. We think the pay-for-post model in influencer marketing is a dead model and that it doesn't work, and it will lead to brands being dissatisfied, thinking influencer marketing is a scam, it doesn't work, and just discouraged altogether, quite honestly. We believe in influencer seeding, would love to give listeners actionable takeaways to go implement on their end today and how exactly that works and why it would work well for them too.
I like that. Let's get into the actionable steps that somebody can take. What would you recommend they start with first?
Well, it's all going to be based on, we would recommend taking 2% of your annual revenue. So however big, however small, 2% of your annual revenue, put that aside and be willing to send out your product equal to that amount. Hypothetically, you have $1 million company, 2% of your annual revenue. You're looking at, quick math here, $20,000. Let's say your COGS are $20. You can send out 1,000 products in a year. Let's just say there's 10 months in a year. You could technically send out 100 products each month. In this hypothetical, you got to run the numbers yourself, but use that framework. And I guess for purposes of just convenience, I can just use how we come alongside brands. We identify and reach out to a minimum of 500 influencers per month. Typically, when you reach out to these 500 influencers, 1/5 of them opt in to receive product. And so the process here in identifying these influencers, though, for people trying to do this, we use a platform called Tagger. That costs money, $1,500. So if you do not have that money, you're still in luck, you're fine. There's 2 platforms I would recommend to get on there free of cost by 2 of the biggest hitters in the space. So Facebook has an identification tool called Brand Collabs Manager. Free tool, it's Facebook. They obviously know and have a decent amount of data to make helpful recommendations on influencers. So that's a great tool. And then TikTok Creator Marketplace is another one, both free of cost. So identification wise, obviously you guys can do a great job at making sure they're a brand fit, demographic fit, persona fit, all the above. Biggest emphasis when identifying these influencers as the right influencers to partner with, are they good video content creators? So do they capture your attention? Are they thumb stopping, charismatic, articulate? Long story short, if we seeded them our product, would they be able to sell me on it through the video content that they're posting and that we ultimately want to repurpose into Facebook ads? So that's step one, identification. I'm going to stop there. Any questions, concerns about that step of the process thus far?
My one question would be, when you're seeding, what it is you're going to give these influencers the product, right? That's what you're referring to when you're saying seeding.
Yes. Thank you for that clarification too.
Yeah, no problem. Do you actually ask them for anything, or is this you're giving it to them, no requests back, to try to figure out who actually likes your product, or what's the process there?
I love it. So that's actually the next step, right? So once that list of influencers is set in place, we would reach out to all of them over DM, over the platform we're looking to activate them on. We'd recommend TikTok. Unprecedented viral capabilities there as of right now. Take advantage of this moment. So reach out to them on the creator marketplace on TikTok, and as well as over email. We double down, and we have a 5 follow-up email flow. But the initial outreach, something along the lines of, hey, Jesse, hey, Richie, we think you're a great brand fit. We absolutely love the content you consistently put out. We think you love our product, and we want to send it to you, no strings attached. And what we mean by that is we have no expectation of you to post whatsoever. Just send me your address. We'll get this right out to you. So everyone listening right now is like, why the hell would I ever send out product, no strings attached, with nothing in return? Well, you're going to get something in return. So expectations wise, while we're communicating, we have no expectations. What you typically see is kind of what I alluded to prior. When we reach out to 500 or to any amount, take the percentages, 20% at a minimum opt in to receive product. So in that hypothetical, 100, you can conservatively estimate 100 to 200 though. Out of everyone that receives the product, 30% of them end up posting 2 to 3 posts each of their own free will, under no contractual obligation. They just are genuine product adopters, which is such a need in our space. It's authentic content being posted. So 30 influencers posting 60 to 90 assets. We follow up for usage rights. We then reformat that content, caption it, and then we launch it into paid media as well, where we can turn those 60 to 90 unique assets into well over 150, 200 plus ads, where we can amplify the content there too. So I'll stop there again. Probably went on a little bit of a tear, so I apologize, but wanted to give them a clear, concise plan of action there and what they can expect.
Oh, that's fantastic. And definitely feel free. No need to apologize. They like information, so go for it. I love it on a couple levels. One, you get to find out who actually really likes your product when you do it that way, because one, they opted in to receive it. Two, you didn't ask anything for it. So if they post about it, they probably really did like it. And it's probably even better than if they did a quote unquote ad, because it's going to feel more natural. Because even if these guys are good, or gals, good at creating content and good at making videos, everyone feels a little bit more pressure, most likely, if they're feeling like they have to make an ad. But if someone's just making a video about this cool thing that they found, they may or may not say they shared it with me for free. Who even cares? Just the fact that it's natural and it's coming out in a way that fits their personality, fits their channel, fits how they already communicate with their audience. I think it's spot on. It's a great idea.
I love it. Thank you.
I want to come back to the Facebook creator and the TikTok creator network. I know I'm butchering the names, but I'm aware of these platforms, which I've never really played with before. This one I actually don't really know that much about. So you mentioned people taking a look at their own product, and usually you have a feeling of the demographics of the people that purchase it, some sort of interest maybe. Are you using like hashtags to tag where they might tag on this particular subject, some sort of interest-based thing? Because it's not just demographics. It's not just, oh, it's females 18 to 24. Well, that's a pretty wide group. You need to dial it in somehow.
Yeah, of course. TikTok Creator Marketplace and Facebook Brand Clouds Manager. Those are the 2 free tools. Tagger is what we use little bit more robust, costs money. We're obviously an agency that does this for a living, so we need that. But these are sufficient for someone looking to do this internally and get their program off the ground as a helpful tool to find the right people. So when thinking about influencer identification, look at your customer data, right? Okay, you should get influencers that align with that customer data, as well as, that's one, who influences that pool of customer. Put your frame of mind into both of those influencer personas, those avatars. Find influencers that represent that community, that fit into that community, as well as the influencer that influences that community. They can be the same, but they are different. So put yourself in that frame of mind. And yes, like you're saying, Jesse, think about, okay, what interests are those? Is that female, male? What age is that? What are they talking about? Because you can literally type in, what are they talking about? What's in their video? What's in their photo? What are they posting about? You can plug all of these things into these filtration search engines and get really quality people. But again, like I said, even after you make sure that they're qualitatively a great fit, quantitatively a great fit, you need to go in and gauge their video content creation ability. Then and only then, once all those boxes are checked, they become someone worthwhile to send that outreach message to and ultimately see the product.
Yeah, that helps me break it down to a little bit more on the first step. Now, when you send out, let's stick with the 500, 100. And that might not be true for everybody, but you send out 500 requests, you get 100 back. You sort of have like a soft commit that they are at least interested in the product, even though they haven't committed to posting. So out of the 100, 20 to 30 actually post something. That's free, I guess, in a way, even though you had to send the product, right? And you had the time. Now, how can you use those images? Like you mentioned, getting the rights. Is that where you generally have to pay the influencers, or do you just ask for permission to take that post and repost it or reuse it for ads? How does that work?
Question. Yeah. And this is a must. So I'm glad you brought that up. So that hypothetical goes down to 30 influencers posting 60 to 90 posts in total. And that's typically just the minimums. After each of those 30 people post, they'd get a message from us. And I would recommend using this message verbatim. Hey, Jesse, so glad you loved our product so much so you're willing to share this content with your audience. Hey, we'd love to be able to share this content with our audiences as well. Can we have the rights to do so? Effectively getting usage rights. And no, typically they're flattered that we want to repurpose their content to ads. But this goes into another topic, micro or macro, in which we're reaching out and identifying influencers between 5K and 150K in followers. That's one of the reasons why we want to make sure we get usage rights to this content every time. There's no drop off in the quality of content when based on that person's following. So you're going to get a lot of content. Whereas if this was Aaron Rodgers or some macro influencer that you're following up for usage rights to, you're going to get introduced to their manager, their agent. Sure, you can use it for 30 days and $1 million. Like not that high, but well over, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars again, and no drop off in the quality. I believe that answers your question.
Yeah, that does answer my question. I could dig a little bit more. I just want to think of the actual process of you send out some products, they post, maybe they tagged you, maybe they put some sort of notification back to the brand, maybe they didn't. So you probably have to follow each of these people and make sure you're watching their feeds.
This is great. You're taking this conversation down a very methodical, organized path. Another tool that we recommend, and it's very inexpensive, is called Mighty Scout. Phenomenal. It's a social listening tool, so you don't need to be scouring the internet 24/7. Basically, what Jesse just presented as a concern, like how are we going to look and see all 100 of these people every day if they're posting? No. So Mighty Scout, once you have the people that opt in to receive your product, you immediately plug those in this hypothetical. We plug those 100 profiles on their TikTok usernames into the platform. And at that point thereafter, all of their content gets collected. And so it's easier, yes, to filter through if they hashtag something or if they at you. And most influencers, I would confidently say well over 90% of influencers, when they post from this process, they're tagging you. And it is easier to find that content within Mighty Scout when they do that in a very seamless way. All the content just shows up right there and then. You can see all the organic analytics around it. You can download that content right there and then instead of the influencer sending it to you. But even if they don't hashtag or even if they don't at you, all the content's collected for you. But at that point, you do need to do a little bit of digging. But most of it will be right there for you right away. Mighty Scout.
Okay. I run paid ads. So now I'm thinking of the next step is you have usage rights. you take this content either on TikTok or Facebook, Instagram. If you're in the ads manager, just podcast listeners visualize this. Usually you're starting with some sort of a URL that you pop in. It's essentially a URL. And then you basically build an ad off of this content, right?
Yeah. So we also do paid social in our strategy. So those 60 to 90 assets, let's just say they turn themselves into 150 assets. When you turn it in 9 by 16, 1 by 1, when it's captioned, and we turn it into several other iterations. Organically, we recommend activating influencers on TikTok. If you're going to choose a channel, we'd recommend Facebook. Far more sophisticated, greater conversion rates. It's just above and beyond where TikTok's currently at. Now, seeing good success top of the funnel with Spark ads with influencers. And if you're going to allocate budget across all the channels, of course, do it. But if you're going to choose one and you need performance, Facebook, repurpose the content there. We do dynamic creative testing where we launch all of it. So a lot of people will look at these 150 assets. What do I do with all of it? They go in, human bias comes into play. They choose their top 5 favorites. Man, that is the worst thing you can do. And you're leaving so much money on the table there. Highly recommend launching all of it. If there's 150 assets, launch it across 15 dynamic creative tests. So each dynamic creative test can have 10 pieces of creative. Remove human bias completely. Let Facebook's machine learning system do the legwork there and allow it to choose the cream of the crop. And protect yourself. People might also be saying, well, why do I have to spend so much money to actually test 150 assets? No, you don't. You put cost caps on each of these 15 campaigns at a place where you are profitable. Cost cap meaning this campaign will not spend any money behind a piece of creative unless it beats this CPA target that your brand has. So only the cream of the crop will get any spend, and Facebook will choose which creative gets the delivery, not you. And I hope that hits and we can all remove our egos, because that is the best practice there. You need to launch it all, give it all a shot, and then you will scale that ad account through this.
Yeah, I love that. We'll have to make that into a little quotable there, because I get the human bias. I run a lot of ads, and sometimes I look at ads, I'm like, this one is going to crush. This one is ugly. There's no way this will win. And I'm surprised all the time by ugly ads, bad videos.
It's a humbling experience. Our team, our entire team, our company, every time we have a set of this many assets, we all take our pick and guess. Never been right. Never been right.
Yeah, the machines are winning. I get it. So, all right, Richie, I've jumped in with a bunch of questions here. I know you have something.
If we went back to your formula and you were going down a PDF or checklist or whatever it is you use, we've seeded, we've reached out to the people who wanted to use the product and posted and said, can we get the rights? May or may not run ads. If you have the money to run ads in the beginning, when you first start in your business, what would be the next step according to the formula that you run through?
Yeah, great question. The next steps is onboarding them to affiliate programs. So not only do you follow up asking them to grant usage rights, but you also send them a message along the lines of, like, hey, Richie, so glad you loved our product so much so you want to post, share this content with your audience. Hey, we'd love to honor you for any and all future posts by getting you compensated for that and getting you on board into our affiliate program. They're already posting of their own free will, free of cost. They love your product, obviously. They're a genuine, authentic lover of your brand. Oh, wow, you guys look like genuinely good human beings. Oh, they're not trying to exploit me like the rest of the marketplace. They're not doing this transactional nature that the marketplace is typically doing. They genuinely care about me. They value me. It's the most seamless transition into an affiliate program there is, obviously biased, but put it to the test, go try it. And then based off top performing affiliates organically, top performing people that create content that's worked well in paid media, that's where you can actually start paying people to post and where the model can exist and thrive. Because at that point, way lower rates to work with them, genuine product adopters, and they prove to be top performers. That's the only place that model exists within a profitable influencer marketing program.
Taylor, you kind of referenced at the beginning of the question where I'm like, all right, what exactly do you do with influencer marketing? That's sort of the old model. That's the model that people have looked at as okay, pay an influencer to hold up a jar of whatever it is you sell and it'll work. And yeah, maybe it does occasionally, but this way you've fully vetted this group of, basically started with 500, whittled it down to 30 maybe even 10 from that point that are your best prospects, best influencers. And sure, pay them 15, 20% of profits of the sale, whatever,
For sure.
because they're going to be posting. Yeah, why not?
Right. And the pay for post model, when you pay someone to post, it's going to lead to a one-off post. They posted because you incentivized them to do so. You paid them to do so. Even if you send them product in exchange for a post, it's still transactional. Whenever the initial deal is transactional by nature, that person is only going to post once. It's going to be a one-off thing. Then they're going to forget about you. When you start the relationship with seeding, you're building a lasting relationship that's going to lend itself to so much. You did it in the right way. Like we've seen someone we've seeded, man, where we didn't even onboard them to an affiliate program, posted 150, this is a case study, posted 150 plus times. And he happened to be a fitness influencer that Joe Rogan followed. Now this product has been on the Joe Rogan Experience 4 times free of cost. So 150 plus posts. And then the cherry on top, it was on this podcast 4 times. So just unbelievable benefits can come from it in that way, instead of a one-off post.
This even makes me think about how people could be proactive. Maybe you piggyback on another product. I'm thinking about how Bilkin piggybacked on Apple products. You could do your own post. So maybe you're not an influencer or working with an influencer, but you're just trying to get used to whatever particular platform that you're looking at influencers on. And you could tag Apple and show your product on it. This isn't necessarily what we're talking about and what we're focusing on, but it just made me think of all the different creative ways that you could get in front of these people. Obviously Apple's shooting for the moon there, but you could get in front of them and brands might look out and say, wow, they're already tagging my product. Your tech stack that you referred to earlier, I'm sure somehow looks through and look, these 17 people already post about our product. So they might be extra happy. I know that was a little circle there, just makes me think of other unique ways you might be able to do that. That's what sparked for me.
Yeah, when people post about you without doing the first step of seeding, that's low hanging fruit, without a doubt. I'd reach out to them with a message of, can we get usage rights? And can we get you on board to our affiliate program right away? You got to skip that initial step. That initial step is just the faucet that keeps that funnel always going, consistently building out your influencer program in a more and more of a robust way. So I love that point. It's a great one.
If I'm listening to this podcast right now, I'm thinking, is this right for my store? Is this right for my products? What type of products work well in this type of system and what ones don't? I'm assuming you almost need to have a physical product that people can touch and feel in order to make a video. But you've done this with many other clients, many other products. What are the winners and losers that you've seen?
Yeah. And what I'll say is we do work with brands that have non-physical products, bread and butter for sure, D2C, physical products, without a doubt. And when it's a non-physical product, say like we've come alongside and helped out, HubSpot, for example, they were really trying to put marketing efforts around their, media department with a recent podcast that they were actually doing. And so for seeding, we recommended that they seed out to influencers that they wanted to put their podcast in front of them, AirPods. And like, you need to get creative with what you're gifting at that point that represents your product offering or your service well. That is an idea to do just that. But yeah, typically D2C physical products, the only thing that typically comes up here as pushback is COGS, right? So in the hypothetical that I went down, where COGS were $20, $20 times 100 products, it's $2,000 for 30 influencers posting 60 to 90 assets for the usage rights. Now, just to give the comparison of what that would be in the pay for post model, if you went to 30 influencers and asked for 2 to 3 posts and usage rights directly, or if you went through an influencer marketing agency to get that output, you're looking at 30K fee minimum for micro influencers, 30K, 1K a pop, easy, with usage rights for sure. So, I mean, $2,000 versus $30,000, same output, one's genuine, one's transactional, one leads to more, one stops there. Like, one's the obvious fit. So at what COG does it not make sense? So, I mean, $30,000, let's just divide that by 100 products. That's $300, right? So at $300 or less, this is an obvious choice, seeding, COGS wise. If your COGS are above, I'm biased, but I'm still bullish. I would still, if you care about influencer marketing as an acquisition channel that you want to build as a successful one, lay the foundations the right way, you obviously can only identify, reach out, and send product to way fewer people than everyone else. But if you have someone that you believe in, that you spend a lot of time identifying, that you think is the right brand fit, seed them that product, even if it's more than $300, to start the relationship there. I believe this is true of every industry across every space. If you think about it, there's an influencer in every space. Like even in podcasts, there's someone that influences that space, without a doubt. Every space, every brand, every product has an influencer. So it's applicable to all industries and brands. But the COG discussion is one that people typically get hung up on. So I did want to break that down for people.
Going back to earlier in the conversation, giving it that 2% mark, it opens it up to wherever you're at, That's just where you are. So you recommend 2%. If you're just getting started, 2% is not going to be a lot, and you can still get an influencer. I might misquote exactly which one you were talking about, but the micro influencer, kind of two things going for you. Probably not big ego. So they're grateful that you've reached out. They're happy because maybe this is the first time anyone's ever reached out to them. Never know. Two, they most likely have a greater affinity with their audience, like Kim Kardashian and Aaron Rodgers, these other people we're referring to. The odds of them saying, "Oh, thank you so much," are slim to none. Right. They're too busy. The combination of they most likely are happy you reached out, 2%, it is what it is. It may or may not work. You make that own decision on your own. And also we got to remember a lot of companies that are on Ecwid, they might already be successful in a brick and mortar business and have money. And this is just their first experience in e-commerce. They might still have the money, even though they're just getting started in e-commerce. So we can't put a cap on it either. But yeah, I love the way you laid that out.
I had the COGS question in the back of my mind as well. So I'm glad you answered it, because there's a limit to how much you can send of a product it's expensive. But yeah, $300 in that example makes a ton of sense. So kind of everybody kind of pack that away. I can also see this being useful for people that have maybe they've maxed out what they can do on Google Shopping, maxed out what their own Facebook ad creation efforts can do, or I'm out of ideas. All right, well, here's 100 new Facebook ads. But yeah, there's going to be some work involved. I think it makes a ton of sense. What about for people that don't have the ability to do 100 products? Can this work for people sending out maybe 5-10 products a month? Would that work?
Without a doubt. Yeah. Again, just going back to that proportionate percentage, wherever you guys are at as a brand, 2% of revenue, even if you have one product to seed out in a year, just get started, seed it, take 2% of your annual revenue, get started and do it. And what I'll also say, just to tie it back to that COGS discussion as well, if you have a higher COG product, the breakdown that I gave of like 500 to 100 to 30 influencers posting 60 to 90 assets, that's the minimum. When you seed out a product that's of greater value, you're going to get a greater impression left on that influencer. We've seen a higher percentage of people end up posting as well from those efforts. 30 influencers posting 60 to 90 assets, that's the minimum. That can be like a silicone wedding ring that costs 10 cents being sent out. But the higher the value of the product, the more likely you're going to build an even greater relationship to more posts, more content, so on and so forth. But circle back on your singular question, get started, even if you can afford sending one product, get going.
Yeah, love it. Taylor, that's been great. Richie, is there any questions here we should have asked?
I would bring that back to Taylor. Is there anything that we should have asked you, or did we go through your whole checklist, or anything that you would add to the conversation?
I don't think so, but let's just recap real quick. So influencer seeding, set a pay for post model, drop that one. Identification, tools to use. If you're looking for free tools, Facebook Brand Collabs Manager. That's for Facebook and Instagram. For TikTok Creator Marketplace. For outreach messages, send this no strings attached message. We said it verbatim. Go back in the episode, play it, steal it word for word. And don't be afraid to follow up too. Follow up with them if they don't respond. A lot of these people's inboxes get a lot of messages, and just reemphasize, hey, this is a no strings attached gift. We're not looking for anything in return. Just reemphasize that. So identification, outreach. For organic analytic, social listening, Mighty Scout, super inexpensive, about $2 per person that you upload into it. So if you seed 100 people, you plug in 100, It's going to be $200, well worth the money. I promise you, it's saving you a ton of labor. So that's organic analytics reporting. For content editing, if you're doing it internally, Capwing's a tool. You can use Adobe Studio, and then obviously to repurpose and launch it, Facebook ads, get it going, and amplify it there. That's everything A through Z with the tools that are necessary to bring this to life.
Awesome, Taylor. I love that you laid out the blueprint for everybody so they can get started with that. What if there's people that say, this sounds great, please just do it for me? Where would they look to find you and follow you on the internet?
Yeah, so kynship.co, Kynship with a Y, .co, not .com. And then me and my partner are both very active on Twitter, where you can follow us, Taylor Lagace and Cody Whittick. But those are predominantly the best places to find us and the content we're putting out.
Perfect. Taylor, thanks for joining the show. Loved hearing your story. Hope all the listeners out there have an action plan that's ready to go. Listeners, you know what to do. Get out there and make it happen. Bye-bye, everyone.
Hey, this is Jesse and Rich. We want to let you know we really appreciate you listening.
We hope you find the tips we give you helpful for growing your business.
You can find all of our past episodes and a lot more useful stuff at ecwid.com/podcast.
And also, check us out on your favorite podcasting platform like Apple Podcast or Stitcher. And make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing.
Be sure to let us know what you think by rating and reviewing so we can serve you better.
So subscribe on your favorite platform.
And come join our community, check out the transcripts, or tell us why you would be a great guest at ecwid.com/podcast.